Hi, I'm Jeff Richards and welcome to Japan Today Spotlight, where we go deeper into headlines you know and some you might have missed. On July 8th, 2022, former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was shot dead at close range with a handmade gun while giving a campaign speech in Nara in western Japan, just 2 days before an election. Abe's death shocked the nation. It was the first assassination of a former prime minister since 1936. The man indicted for the killing, 45-year-old Tetsuya Yamagami, is finally coming to trial this month. He says he acted out of hatred for South Korea's Unification Church, now formally called the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. It is widely known as the Moonies. The Nara District Court says the trial will comprise 19 sessions, running from October 28th to January 21st next year, when the verdict will be announced. In this week's Japan Today Spotlight, we'll look at Abe's assassination, the killer's motives, and the fallout from the church's deep ties to Japanese politics. Shinzo Abe, Japan's longest-serving prime minister, was speaking near Kintetsu Yamato Saidaiji Station in Nara City around noon on July 8, 2022. Yamagami approached him from behind. Security guards were caught completely off guard. He fired a homemade weapon, one resembling a double-barreled shotgun. It's capable of firing 6 metal projectiles similar to shotgun shells all at once. The first shot missed, and that prompted Abe to turn around. The second shot hit him in the neck and the chest. Yamagami was immediately tackled by security and arrested on the spot. Abe was rushed to the hospital, but he died about 6 hours later. He was 67. Who is Tetsuya Yamagami? After the assassination, the media scrambled to uncover who Yamagami was and why he had done it. Abe had long been a polarizing figure. Supporters praised him for strengthening Japan's military and raising the country's global profile. Opponents criticized his strong right-wing stance and accused him of historical revisionism. He downplayed Japan's World War II atrocities in textbooks, denied coercion in the recruitment of comfort women during the war, and he pushed to revise Japan's Article 9 of the Constitution, its post-war pacifist clause. But Yamagami wasn't driven by ideology. His motive, he said, lay 2 decades in the past. He told investigators he bore a grudge against the Unification Church, which he blamed for bankrupting his family. He claimed his mother was manipulated into donating over 100 million yen, about $670,000, starting in the 1990s. She used his father's life insurance and the sale of their home to finance those donations. The financial damage, he said, left him and his siblings in poverty. Yamagami originally planned to target Hak Ja-han, the church's current leader, but said he couldn't get close enough to her. Instead, he turned to Abe, who he believed was one of the church's most influential supporters in Japan. The Unification Church was founded in South Korea in 1954 and registered as a religious organization in Japan in 1964, reportedly with help from Abe's grandfather, former Prime Minister Nobusuke Kishi. What's striking here is that Yamagami didn't see himself as political in any way, just someone trying to expose a system that had ruined his life. That distinction matters in how many people came to view him, which we'll get to later. After months of psychiatric evaluation, Yamagami has been declared mentally fit to stand trial. It looks like an open and shut case. His lawyers aren't disputing that he pulled the trigger. Their focus is on the sentence and whether the court will recognize mitigating factors. They argue that the crime was the result of a long-term psychological abuse and trauma. Yamagami's life story is bleak. His father died by suicide when he was 4. His mother joined the Unification Church in 1991 and began donating huge sums, eventually more than 100 million yen, using that life insurance money and the sale of their home. Yamagami later joined the Maritime Self-Defense Force, but left after a suicide attempt when he was 25. He then drifted between jobs. In 2013, his brother also died by suicide. As the years passed, Yamagami became more isolated and more obsessed with blaming the church for what had happened to his family. That's the defense strategy. Prosecutors will argue this was a cold, calculated act. They say Yamagami tracked Abe's campaign schedule, followed him to multiple locations, and that he even tested his homemade weapon by firing it at a concrete wall just days before the killing. Their message is simple. A personal grudge, even a tragic one, doesn't justify murder. There's no question that Yamagami will be convicted. Even his lawyers admit that. In the end, his ultimate sentence will depend on how the court interprets the connection between his upbringing and his crime. Despite the brutality of the act, Yamagami has drawn an unexpected amount of sympathy in Japan. Some people say Abe's death, while tragic, helped expose the Unification Church and its predatory practices. Others have shared stories online of their own experiences with religious abuse or family financial ruin caused by cult-like groups. Message boards and social media in Japan have been flooded with messages of support, understanding, and even admiration for Yamagami. Novelist Akira Tachibana called him a dark hero in a piece he wrote for Spa magazine. Others have framed him as a symbol of intergenerational damage, someone pushed to the edge by a system that never helped him. And then there are the so-called Yamagami girls. In a feature by the Shukan Bunshun tabloid, some young women said they meet online to share messages of sympathy and even romantic affection for him. They've raised funds for his defense, signed petitions asking for leniency, and posted declarations of admiration and love. It's unsettling, but not entirely surprising. The more that people saw Yamagami not as a killer, but as a person, a product of Japan's silence around trauma and family shame, the more sympathy started to grow. We've seen similar reactions elsewhere, including in the US right now, where Luigi Mangione is accused of fatally shooting Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare in New York City in 2024. Mangione's case has sparked a fringe wave of online sympathy and fascination, with some supporters framing him as a symbol of personal trauma or anti-establishment rage. What sets Yamagami's case apart is its national impact. His act didn't just go viral. It led to legislation, cabinet resignations, and a reckoning with the Unification Church that Japan's political class had long avoided. If there's one group that hasn't received any sympathy since Abe's assassination, it's the Unification Church. The church quickly tried to distance itself from the killing. For many in Japan, though, the damage was already done. Japan has long been a major financial hub for the church. It has been accused of manipulating followers, especially the elderly, into buying expensive religious goods or donating large amounts of money in exchange for spiritual salvation. In some cases, members were told they had to atone for Japan's wartime occupation of Korea. The church's deep ties to the Liberal Democratic Party were soon exposed. 4 cabinet members in former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's cabinet were forced to resign. An internal LDP investigation found that nearly half of all its lawmakers had some connection to the church, whether through donations, campaign volunteers, or event appearances. The backlash even pushed the LDP to adopt new internal rules. The government also passed new laws restricting religious fundraising based on fear, spiritual threats, or coercion. Victims of past abuse became eligible for compensation. Then came the biggest blow. In March 2025, the Tokyo District Court issued a dissolution order for the Japanese branch of the Unification Church. The ruling stripped the church of its tax-exempt status and declared it harmful to society. The church is now appealing that decision. Meanwhile, lawsuits continue. In one recent arbitration, the church was ordered to pay more than 50 million yen, about $330,000, to 3 elderly former members. It's just one of over 180 active cases, with total damages sought exceeding 6 billion yen, roughly $40 million. Whether Yamagami's sentence is light or harsh, the real fallout from his actions is already playing out and likely will for years to come. In courtrooms, in parliament, and inside the crumbling walls of a once powerful religious institution, the consequences of this heinous act continue to reverberate across Japan. The trial of Tetsuya Yamagami may bring legal closure to one of the most consequential cases in modern Japan. But the deeper questions about political influence, institutional power, trauma, and responsibility won't be resolved in a courtroom. That's something the people of Japan will have to decide for themselves. What do you think? What's your opinion on this case and Yamagami's brutal act? Thanks for watching Japan Today Spotlight, and from the Japan Today newsroom here in Tokyo, I'm Jeff Richards. See me next time.